On this day in history, 1854, the Supreme Court ruled unanimously against segregation in schools in Brown v. Board of Education. See, kids, people have worked really hard to make school what it is today, so don't quit. And I think when I have kids, some that'll be like doomsday, but when I have kids, I think my bedtime stories will be somewhat like searching through Facebook posts, just select Facebook posts, and reading them aloud to my children, and then saying, see kids, this is why you stay in school. Hello, Launchpad Nation. You're watching The Corner Booth. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We have a fantastic panel for you. This is episode 9, the light bulb and the light switch, ideas and hindrances. I do want to kind of let everyone know that you're seeing these, some of them just rotating panelists. I hope that you're seeing the pattern. And then you're also seeing some fresh faces. We have an amazing special guest tonight. She goes by @TheAttentiveSoul, but we know her as Jennifer Corman. Thank you so much, Jennifer, for being a part of this project. It's really an honor to have you here. Just to kind of give everybody a little bit of a background without releasing too much information, but Jennifer's really shy, and she wears her heart on her sleeve, and she's just a very, very kind soul, but I've been after her. I've been kind of hounding her a while now to get her on a broadcast, and she finally came. So thank you so much for giving in to my coercion. But this week I want to do something a little bit different. This week, everybody on the panel will introduce another panelist. Expanding on 3 topics, but to do this meant that they actually had to talk to each other. Yes, like they actually had to be friendly towards each other. So they're going to expand on these 3 topics, what these 3 topics mean to them, and this is how it's going to work. A perfect date, a perfect holiday, a perfect book. And so Sarah Benson, if you would introduce your new best friend.
Absolutely. So Jennifer Corman is my new Wattpad bestie. That's @TheAttentiveSoul, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about her favorite, or what makes a great date for her. It has been 23 years since she's been on a date, and her husband was the only person she ever dated.
Whoa. Spencer!
That is awesome. Okay, a great first date would include great food, Thai, woo, Vietnamese, or real Italian. Yes, I'm with you, Jennifer. I'll go on a date with you. Okay, that's the saucy stuff we have here. A walk near water and a good movie, anything but horror. Sounds like a fantastic date to me. Okay, so Jennifer, a perfect holiday for Jennifer would be one where she doesn't have to buy gifts. Love that. Or she's won the lottery, so she can buy people anything and everything. So either nothing or everything. That sounds great. Lovely friends and family to celebrate with. No drama, yes. Formality, just great food and relaxation. Okay, and Jennifer's perfect book would be one that's so good she would want to stay up all night reading, and even better if it has a sequel so she can keep going. Nothing that plays so hard with language that ruins the experience of reading. A book that makes her forget she's reading, and where she disappears into the story, which is the mark of a great author in her book. So there's Jennifer.
Awesome. And Jennifer, would you like to introduce your new bestie?
Yes, I would. I watched a lot of the former episodes, and I could tell how kind Sarah was just from watching. So I would start with that, and let me find my notes. I think her first date would, like mine, would include lots of good conversation and a nice walk. And good food, and she likes Thai food like me, so we could definitely go on a date together. That would be good. Holidays would be same thing, good food, good people, like not a lot of structure, just kind of nice relaxing time. Good book. Where did I write this down? I can't memorize things. Good book would be something that was just light, depending on her mood, but something that would teach you something, depending on where you are in life, something you could get something useful from, but not too heavy, depending on what you're in the mood for. So all things I agree with. So.
Absolutely, that's great. So as you can see, they Some of these questions are kind of personal. It almost seems like you guys are talking like or filling out an eHarmony profile.
I know.
But I mean, it's great. It's great that you guys are getting to know each other. It's kind of that's kind of the spirit of Wattpad, is the fact that a lot of people, they come on as anonymous users, and the whole goal is to get to know people. If you're not using it as a social network platform, then you're really missing out. So, Miss Michelle Hayes, if you'd like to introduce your bestie.
Yes, I would. Brittany Charmantine is my new BFF. Woo! Woo! Her perfect date starts. Excuse me. Her perfect date starts with flowers, then a yummy dinner in a beautiful restaurant, talking until all hours of the night, maybe some great kissing. A perfect holiday. A perfect holiday for Britt involves the beach, an umbrellaed cocktail, the smell of suntan lotion, a good book, sunglasses, and a floppy hat. I like that one, Britt. Thank you. Her perfect book would be one that takes her into another world, preferably has a bit of romance and magic. That's my new BFF, Brittany Charmantine.
Very nice. And Miss Brittany Charmantine, would you like to introduce your new BFF?
I would. My new, my new best BFF is Michelle Hayes, and I feel matched when I look at her answers, because I think we're both rather romantic. Her perfect date is a steak dinner with red wine, either in a restaurant or at home, and maybe with some creme brulee afterward.
Michelle, you're an expensive date. Seriously.
She probably would pay her half.
She probably would.
No, she wouldn't. I wouldn't. Okay, I'm old-fashioned. What can I say? Okay, and then go outside to the fire pit and talk and look up at the stars. And I think there's kissing also in her date. So, so that sounds perfect to me. Her perfect holiday is with her kids, her love, and her family and friends all together, celebrating the meaning of the season, surrounded by love and good food and good wine and, of course, rum cake.
Yummy.
Yeah.
Nice. I've talked to Michelle's husband, and he's amazing.
I haven't met him, but
he's really cool. I mean, he needs to like make a cameo appearance or something, Michelle. Seriously, that guy's awesome.
He's a fun guy.
So yes, to register to win a.
Oh wait.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh yeah. You still got one more, right?
Yeah, her book. Her
yes.
book. Which is something that has magic and romance and takes her away from reality.
Could you be talking about your own book, Michelle?
No.
Just stuff that gives you inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because Michelle's book, it goes like vastly into the paranormal sense, and I would think, somewhere down the line you'd have to read something that's highly supernatural to get, the dimension that you have on your story. First of all, I want everybody to pay attention to the fact that everybody's date had food in it. So all you girls that don't eat during a date, get over that right now, because we have beautiful panelists.
Yes.
And seriously, real women eat, not like a side salad and then just leave. If Michelle, she orders like a filet mignon and stuff like that, or Thai food for two women. That's amazing. So just to kind of elaborate a little bit more on this, we have been giving away Wattpad mugs every single week. Thanks to Amanda Live for getting our panel Wattpad mugs as well. But if you would like to register to win a Wattpad mug, this is what you need to do. What you need to do is go to our thread, which is on Wattpad.com. All you have to do is go to the browse section, and then it takes you to a bunch of different genres. And then you can go over to the right-hand side, and you'll see all the forums and things like that. We are in the cafe forum, and you can search for us there. Elaborate on those 3 points for another Wattpadder: a perfect date, a perfect holiday, a perfect book. And everybody who does that until, Wednesday, May 20th at midnight will be entered to win. I do have some winners from from past broadcasts that I haven't gotten to because I've been on the run. But expect a message this week. Please look for that. I don't mean to come off really creepy by saying, hey, I need your address. I know how creepy that sounds, but it's because I want to send you something. So that'll be happening this week. And now, for my favorite part of the broadcast, we're getting into something called cream or sugar. And essentially what we do every single week is we talk about the cream that has risen to the top of the surface, or throwing a little bit of sugar at somebody who's already well established. I cannot talk today. I'm very sorry. So I'm going to actually start with Miss Sarah Benson this week and just kind of bounce around. But who do you have for cream or sugar?
Oh, boy.
Ooh, can't hear him. Can't hear you.
Ooh.
Yep, she's gone.
Oh. You back? You on mute? Ooh. Try either closing the window and rejoining, or before you do that, just unplug your jack and then put it back in. Sometimes that helps.
Yep, there she is.
You can't hear me now?
I can hear you now.
All right. Yeah, apparently the jack just came out. Okay.
Okay.
We're back in. All right. So my first cream or sugar this week is Liz Madrid. That's at Morgan's Muse on Wattpad. And it's her book, Finding Sam. And this is actually a book that is available on Amazon. So I purchased it, and I am loving it. It's about a single mother and artist named Sam Martin, and she feels broken by her painful past. And so when she meets a man who accepts her just the way she is, her heart knows that his love will not be enough to live the life she deserves. So to find joy, she needs to let go of the mistakes of her past. And the story is about her progress to grow and let the past go and kind of like become that person that she truly wants to become. And Liz is an amazing writer, as many of you know, and her story is so heartfelt and beautiful. And I have an artistic background, and so I still relate to Sam, and that how when she had that painful past, she just kind of put away the past, put away the art, and as she kind of moves back to it, she kind of becomes the artist that she once was, and even takes it beyond that. It's a beautiful story, so run over to Amazon, pick it up, you will love it. So the other one, I'm on a romance kick today, is N.M. Morton, at N.M. Morton, An Unexpected Love. And I was privileged to discover this story when there were like only 2 chapters up. And so Nikki and I have grown on Wattpad together. We were there together since the beginning, and she is a dear friend, and we just love reading each other's stories. So this is a historic romance, so that's fun. This is the story of Elizabeth, and she's kind of shy when it comes to love, and kind of has fallen into this belief that she's not going to ever really find the love of her life. And then she meets this guy, Edward Stanton, and he's a cocky bank owner's son. And he and his friend come to visit their plantation, and just bit by bit, her resistance starts to erode, and she starts to challenge and rethink her beliefs. And I just absolutely adore Elizabeth and Edward's story and their struggle for love despite all the obstacles, including Edward's father, which is a huge obstacle in the story. So anyway, I highly recommend An Unexpected Love as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sarah. And just to let you know, Lindsay Lippincott, who is a very dear friend of all of us on the panel, she has put together a Wattpad page for the Corner Booth. It has transcripts of the episodes. She just does a lot of work just out of goodness of her heart, and she's so adorable. It's so great. I know that this past week she was going to Florida, but she actually carved out enough time to take care of everything that has to do with the Corner Booth. But something that we'll be doing on that particular profile is actually creating a reading list that has all of these cream and sugar shout-outs. So look for that. We'll have that up in, I want to say, the next 2 weeks, because she's in Florida, I'm in Texas, we're both traveling, so it's kind of we're doing it as we go. But I do want to bounce over to Miss Brittany Charmentine.
Okay, so I have one today, It's called A Thousand Salt Kisses, and it's by Josie DeMuth, and she spells her name Josie with a number 1 instead of an I. And her book came to my attention by another Wattpadder named Siwanika, who I think I shouted out last time I was on. She has a wonderful book called Cat. And A Thousand Salt Kisses is a Wattpad featured story. And the reason that I'm excited about it is because it's about merfolk. It's about...
I wonder why that interests you, Brittany. I have no idea why.
More mermaids, man. Let's have more mermaids on the site. So this is a sweet love story between a human girl and a handsome young merman that takes place on a remote island. It's got a mix of mystical romance and humor and a dash of action and adventure. She's a wonderful writer. Her writing is very poetic and fun. And I haven't finished the book, but I've just started it, but I'm really super excited about it. And I hope that everybody will check it out.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And that's going to take us over to our special guest panelist, Jennifer Corman.
All right. I wanted to do so many, it was hard to pick. I picked 2, but my first is Ollie Redfern. So it's Ollie Redfern. And Ollie is a fantastic writer and a fantastic reader, and I think that makes a good Wattpadder in so many ways. But one of my favorite stories of his is called The Noise in the Ceiling, and I'm not going to give it away. It's well written and it pulls at your heartstrings, makes you think, which is what I think a good short story does. And he's got a lot of collections that are very interesting. One is called The Common People. And Ollie has lived all over the world. Right now he lives in London, but he just recently came back from living in Brazil. And he just is one of those people who can take a very small interaction or a very small observation and turn it into a fascinating story. And I love that about him. And I just think he epitomizes everything that's good about Wattpad, because he's just a great person. And really, truly, to be a great writer, I think you have to be somebody who's a great reader, and Ollie is both. So, and my other shout out is somebody who I think is just a towering person in general, but a towering person on Wattpad, is Colm Heron. I don't know if he's had a shout out before, but my favorite story about Colm Heron is when I was new on Wattpad, and I'm still embarrassed to admit this, but Colm was so generous to me with his praise, and anytime anybody ever said anything nice to me, I was like, oh, really? And so Colm said nice things to me, and I had no idea really what Wattpad was or what anything was, and somebody mentioned NaNoWriMo. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. So I figured I'd get together a group of adults to try to do that, and I asked Colm, and Colm gave back a very kind response. And it was only months later that I realized that he's one of the world's most renowned James Joyce experts. And I was like, oh my God, I just asked like the smartest person on Wattpad to do NaNoWriMo with me, and I felt like a complete idiot. But he has been nothing but supportive, so he also, you know, exhibits that incredible, you know, persona of being such a kind Wattpadder. But beyond that, he is a phenomenal writer, and his book, The Wake, it's a masterpiece, and to have him on Wattpad, I think is an honor, and anybody who reads that will be elevated, you know, in their own writing. It's funny, and it's well researched and written in terms of history, and wow is all I have to say. If you haven't read that, you really need to. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And last but not least, we have Miss Michelle Hayes.
Alrighty, I have a sugar this week. She is author Michelle Jo Quinn. The name of her book is Chasing the Runaway Bride, and it is in Chick Lit. And in fact, it is number 2 right now. She has earned it, let me tell you. This chick can write. I give Michelle some high praise here. She draws the reader in from paragraph 1. Her characters are so witty, sexy, and I just cannot tell you enough. I love the style of her writing. She is fabulous. She is one of the best chick lit authors that I've come across on the site altogether, hands down. Michelle Jo Quinn, you rock, girl. Love your book. Check it out, Chasing the Runaway Bride. I'm not fully complete with it yet, but I'm really excited to get through it.
Awesome, awesome. And she's a big, big supporter of the Corner Booth.
Yes,
so she definitely deserves a cream of sugar shout out. But she is a phenomenal writer. The samples that I have read, because it was just like I would get halfway through a chapter and then something would come up. So
the first chapter, my jaw dropped. I mean, she hooks you from the beginning, and that's a necessity as a romance author. You want to get that, you want to reel them in. And she
Absolutely.
does.
And I think it's so important that, we kind of at least acknowledge the fact that someone who is so engaged with the community writes really, really well. That's not just a coincidence. That's something that I think that as you kind of cultivate your relationships more and more on Wattpad, that you just kind of become a better writer all the way around. It's strange how that works. I think it's because you're being more conscious of several different things as you go along. So now we are going to the main part of the broadcast, and it is called the entree. And this week, like I said, we are going to be talking about the light switch and the light bulb, things that go bing, idea, and then things that actually turn that light bulb off, or the light switch. So this first question goes a little like this. Tell us about a time when you had a new shiny idea in the middle of a work in progress. How did you deal with it? And I'm actually going to start with our guest panelist, Miss Jennifer Corman.
That happens to me a lot, and I just always kind of roll with it, because I can't tell you the number of times I've sat down to, in my case, I write a lot of nonfiction essays, and so I will write down, and I think I'm writing something about my father, and instead I end up writing something about my husband. And so in that case, in terms of a personal essay, I think that is your subconscious sort of uncovering what you really mean to write about, because sometimes it's painful, or your brain is sort of working its way around what you really need to say, and so it's part of the process. When I have not written as much fiction, when I'm writing fiction, it seems like you can kind of get in the way of yourself and get distracted. So I think what I'm trying to say is in nonfiction, that's a helpful part of the process. In fiction, I think you can get sidelined and get way off on the wrong track. So I don't know if that makes sense.
No, but Jennifer, she says those things. I think that you entered a fiction contest and did rather well.
I know. I did.
Can you tell us a little bit about that contest in particular, that particular one?
Right. That was the Margaret Atwood, The Freeze-Dried Groom, and I was blown away. I mean, I am proud and humbled and blown away that I entered that. That was the first piece of fiction I ever wrote. And I didn't know what a fiction process was. I knew I really wanted to write fiction, and I really wanted to try, and I really honestly had no idea if I could. I'm better with essays and personal essays. And the process for that was crazy. I mean, I literally had at least 50,000 words before I got to that story. And I don't know, I kept wanting to ask a lot of very supportive people on Wattpad, like at Morgan's Muse, who you guys were mentioning, and C. Thomas Howell and Ollie Redfern, and a lot of people I'm sure I'm not remembering right now, but very, very helpful people who I said, is this what you guys do? How do you guys do this? Because I had, tens of thousands of words before I actually got to the heart of what I was trying to say. And so I guess my process was I had to throw all those things away, and they had nothing to do with the story. I mean, it was like stuff about Day of the Dead and like all this crazy stuff that had nothing to do with where I was going. And I think that that's part of uncovering your unconscious really actually knows what you're trying to say and knows what you're trying to write, but it's kind of like you got your motor going and you don't have your propeller in the water. You just gotta get it out.
I love it. Nautical analogy. That's the way to go.
Yeah, well,
you know the way to my heart, Jennifer. You do. You really do.
I grew up on a lake, so.
Yes.
I hope that it gets easier than that. I hope that every time I write a 5,000 word story that I don't have to churn out 50,000 words of junk. Or I don't know if everybody does it like that, but that's how that worked for me. So
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Miss Michelle Hayes.
Okie dokie. All right, that has happened to me a couple times as well. And what I'll do is write it down and tuck it away in my writing folder where I have a lot of notes and such. When I'm completed with my current project, I'll revisit it then. I think when we overcommit ourselves in anything in life, but specifically writing, your work will not shine as bright if your head is going in two different directions. It's two different storylines, two different directions. It just won't shine. So that's what I do with that, Nat.
Absolutely, and that's fantastic. Thank you for bringing that up. Miss Sarah Benson.
All right, yeah, just like the others, I definitely have these ideas pop in. And ideas are easy, but completing what you start, that's difficult. So when you get these shiny ideas, I think if you decide they're worthy to keep, write them down. I write them down. I don't like to lose them. And so I've got a Scrivener file where I just keep my ideas handy so that whenever I can get to them, they're available for me. And when the ideas come, then I can just open that file up and just add a little bit more as I go. So for whatever reason, that just gives me peace of mind knowing that that I can easily come back to it at any time. And but I think it's really important not to be distracted from your current work in progress. And I think that's part of the reason why a lot of new writers never read a book, because they keep chasing the shiny ideas. And so I think you definitely want to avoid that pitfall and find a way to capture them and come back to them as you can. And in some cases, it does make sense to move on to one of those ideas. And if it makes more sense, well, then by all means do that.
Absolutely. I like how you kind of phrase that, though. It is kind of like chasing fireflies almost, where it's just like, oh, this is so much fun, and then you kind of put them in a jar. But remember, you got to poke holes in the jar, kind of. I mean, in the sense that you have to be conscious of the fact that if this is a bright, shiny idea and it needs, some sort of attention, not necessarily just staying on the back burner forever kind of deal. You did bring up a very interesting program, and if you could just do a brief summary on what Scrivener is.
Scrivener, it's a software that a lot of writers use. It's fantastic. I discovered it, a year and a half ago, I think, probably. And what I really love about it is it's a really nice way to, it has a nice system to organize or an outline through a corkboard, and it also has all the chapters kind of lined up on the side so that you can easily go through and flip through them. I find it so much easier to be organized when I use Scrivener, and I know a lot of other writers use it as well. So if you are a writer and haven't tried it yet, they have a free, I think a free period that you can try it. I definitely say it's worth giving it a go and seeing if you like it.
Absolutely, and the thing about it is that it has several utilities. I'm a pen and paper person, so everything for me, I mean, I have to be able to actually move a pen across a pad like so, and it's just something that, that's me being OCD. But if you are, really into your tablet, especially, they have things that are tailored for the mobile experience as well, not just laptops and PCs. But it's an incredible program. It does have a trial period. Try it out because it has a lot of really, really useful tools that I've heard nothing but great things about. And hopefully we're going to get some money for promoting them, right? So now we're going to over to Miss Brittany Charmentine.
Okay. Well, the other answers were all wonderful, and I agree with everything that they've said. This definitely happens to me, too. And if you really pay attention, I think, to when this happens, I think you might find that it occurs when you're having trouble with your manuscript, especially when you get to that tricky middle. And it's really hard. And then all of a sudden, this new idea pops into your brain, and you think, oh, that one is going to write itself. It's going to be super easy. And so what I think about this, I call it the most devious form of procrastination, because it's procrastination disguised as creativity. So you can feel really good about it because of the fact that you are creating, but it's actually taking you away from what the project that you need to complete. So when this first started happening to me, what I did was I took that new idea and I actually tried to approach it in a sort of more professional way and say, okay, say I have this new idea that's going to write itself. Maybe I'll try outlining it and see what happens then. And maybe after a half an hour of doing that, I realized, oh, it's just as hard as the one I'm working on. And I've done that enough times now that I know that that nothing ever writes itself, and writing is just hard. Mm-hmm. So, but of course, as the other said, I don't want to lose these new ideas, and I have a file in my computer it's called Story Ideas, and I just write them down in there. I have another one like for potential characters when I hear a really cool character name. So I just keep these things. But then what happens a lot of times, I'll go back and I'll look at that list, and the idea doesn't seem as good when I'm, in a position to start a new project. So that's just a warning. And that's it.
I think that what you were saying about the fact that you kind of let something marinate, and then when you get back to it finally, it's like, wow, that wasn't a good idea at all. I think that happens a lot to several different writers, and sometimes that's the greatest thing about getting one of these bright, shiny ideas in the midst of a work in progress. It's the fact that you do put it on the back burner and you let it simmer a little bit, and then when you can finally get back to it, you realize that now that the novelty is kind of worn off with the fact that it is a new and shiny idea, and it's something that's been rolling around in your head for a while, that now maybe it's not the greatest thing in the world. But on the flip side of that, sometimes it's just like you go back to an idea and then you have so many more different points that you never even thought of because, like, for example, pulling out just stuff that I know, while Sarah was writing her book, I'm sure with Born of Shadow, that there was plenty of times where she would come across something in Egypt, just doing research, where she would be like, oh man, that is just not even tangent to the story, but man, that would make a great one. Same thing with Michelle and tarot cards. She does a huge thing on tarot cards and how deep the roots go. And I'm sure there's been some things where she researched it and it's just kind of like, oh man, I never even thought about that kind of deal. So as writers, it's really important to make sure that, yes, you are keeping these notebooks or something where it's not like you're just tossing it in the back of your head and hopefully it sticks. It's good to do Post-its. I know that Brittany does that compulsively almost, Post-its or note cards. And then even Jennifer has told me just the fact that, it's kind of, if she gets an idea, she'll put it on paper and then just kind of work with it piece by piece. And even if it starts as something, like she was saying, that might have been about her father, and then it turns and it like metamorphosizes into something completely different about her husband. I mean, that's kind of like the beauty behind the malleable art form that we work with. So yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for those answers, panel. If you have any questions for this panel at any time during the broadcast, please use our hashtag TCBWatt on Twitter. We do have a couple people who are live tweeting during the broadcast, so thank you for that. It's let's see, ARCCI. I'm going to say it's Archie. I don't know, but it's like by anonymous. That's the Twitter moniker, and then we have at Silverdoe _. I hope that I'm saying this right. It's Issa Archangel YSA. I don't know how to say that. I'm sorry, but yes, thank you so much for live tweeting during the broadcast. It makes our day, and also this broadcast more exciting while you guys do that. So thank you. I do want to get to question number 2. Sometimes we have so many ideas racing through our heads, it's difficult to focus on just one. Have you ever nixed an idea because there weren't enough hours in the day? How did you let go? More importantly, should you? And I'm going to start with Miss Michelle Hayes.
All right. Piggybacking off my original thought on question 1, though, if the idea I have for a new book, if it's a good one, I'll tuck it away for later. I don't discard it. I mean, I'll decide later if it's worthy or not. I think it's very important to keep hold of something and not discard it. It may not seem worthy at the moment because I'm so engrossed in the storyline I'm currently working on, but perhaps down the road, when my mind is fresh, it will. That's what I do for me. I don't throw anything away. It may seem silly at the time, I'll just toss it in my folder and then come visit it when I'm done and Sometimes they go in the trash and sometimes they don't.
Well, that's good. I mean, I think that, you know, the fact that you're actually making a decision that's very solid, black and white kind of deal. It's not like, oh, maybe kind of deal. But the fact that you're actually making those choices as they come, that's huge. That's huge and important. Miss Sarah Benson.
Well, first off, there's never going to be enough time for all the ideas I have going on. So, anyway, I like what both Britt and Michelle had to say about this because my response is similar. You know, don't throw them away. You know, I have too many obligations to write everything I would like to when I want to, but I'm just stubbornly optimistic that someday I will get to some of those ideas, and I don't want to feel like I ever have to let things go or throw them away. You know, like Britt said, there's some ideas that I have filed away. When I came back and to look at them, I was like, well, that just wasn't as great as I thought it was originally. So by all means, nix those. Go ahead. You don't need to hang on to those. But I do believe if you want to tell a story bad enough, if the story is in you and it needs to come out, that it will at some stage. It will find its way. And I think it's just a depressing thought that you feel like you have to give it up simply because you don't see a way right now. So I say hold on to those dreams, find a way, and eventually get those stories written that you really want to tell.
Absolutely. And I think that with I don't know, Wattpad in general, the writers that kind of make the community, it's really interesting to see, okay, where is the line? Where am I a reader? Where am I a writer? And because I think that you have to have both. But kind of going on that train of thought where you were talking about, sorry, I'm hearing my echo. I know that everybody else is probably hearing an echo too. We're battling a couple things. I think, Jennifer, if you can turn your volume a little bit down now.
Got it.
Awesome, thank you so much. I mean, we're still probably going to be fighting a little bit of an echo, but hopefully people can bear with us. Sorry about that, folks. But I just kind of wanted to stress the fact that as you go forward with whatever new, bright, shiny idea that you have, try to use really, really accomplished Wattpadders, or at least people who are, I guess, seasoned veterans, and kind of use them as sounding boards as far as, you know, encouragement and things like that. So I am going to go over to Miss Brittany Sharmstein.
Okay. Yes. Now I hear the echo as well. I do have ideas that are racing through my head, and it's hard to focus sometimes. But you know, as I've said before, if it comes into my head, I find that just writing it down and knowing that I haven't lost it forever, you know, allows me to go back to what I am working on, because I know it's not going to disappear. I know one thing, when I dream something at night and I wake up from that dream and I think, oh, I'll remember this when I wake up in the morning, and and then I go back to sleep, and then I wake up in the morning and I have no idea what it was. So I try to force myself to write it down, even if it's in the middle of the night. If I'm driving in the car, I'll try to record something on my phone so that I don't lose it. I just know that my brain is such that if I don't write something down right away, I'll forget about it, and then I'll be upset later, because of course it's going to be the brand new shiny idea that's going to be the best thing I've ever written. So I'm just kidding about that. So yeah, I have definitely put ideas away and come back to them. It actually one time did turn into a short story, only once, one of those ideas, and it was about a robot, and it was a love story. So.
Well, I guess to re-angle the question for you, Brittany, I know that you have a ton of followers. Has there ever been a circumstance where somebody approaches you and asks you, hey, I have this really great idea, but I don't know what to do with it? Have you ever tried to guide somebody through that part of the process?
Yeah, I definitely have. I actually just love brainstorming. I don't have a lot of time to do it right now, but when I can, I'll go back and forth in PMs with readers, on their projects and suggest things. And, sometimes it's just really cool to sort of get somebody who's outside of the project to give you ideas, because there'll be things that you would never have thought of on your own. And it may not end up using that idea that person comes up with, but it could spark something in you. And so my friends do it for me, and I do it for my friends or for other readers. And, basically I could spend all day brainstorming with people because I think it's super duper fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, use those threads, people. That's what they're there for. Use PMs, use message boards. I mean, Wattpad gives you all the utilities to make something really, really amazing. And a lot of the times when you're talking with people, especially that have great stories already, but love, like with Brittany, love the idea and concept of brainstorming, just kind of throwing darts at a board, and then hopefully one sticks into a bullseye for you. I know that I've talked with Michelle several times about her series because she's working on a saga right now. And it's just kind of like, I know that she's really in tune with what's going to happen with her protagonist, but at the same time, I'll just kind of, spitball an idea, and she'll be like, oh, I never thought of that before. That's pretty awesome kind of deal. I'm just like, I'm just kind of grasping at straws, but if it works for you, that's fantastic. So use Wattpad to its full extent. And Miss Jennifer Corman.
I think depending on where you are in a story, and again, this is somebody who's not written a very long piece, if I were stuck writing something, there are times that having an idea that's distracting is helpful, because it can mean that you need a mental breather from what you're working on, or your mind kind of needs to work out a problem with what you're writing, and your mind is just kind of subconsciously telling you, hey, take a break. It sort of depends on how you're feeling about what your major work is, you know what I mean? And I think that takes a lot of self-awareness. Can you guys hear me? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. I think it depends a lot of just psychologically how you're feeling about what you're working on. So I think that if you have a great idea and you're just determined that it's so distracting and you just can't get rid of it, one thing that I've done before is written about it but just set a limit on it. Like say, okay, it's not going to be a book, it's going to be a short story. And then you can kind of put it away, because there are some ideas you just can't let go of, and then you can kind of go back to whatever it was you were working on. So.
No, that's great. That's great. Thank you so much. And Michelle, I'm going to kind of put you on your toes with this because, and I'm sorry for doing this, I try not to throw this panel too many curveballs, but it's something that kind of actively interests me, and it's just something that came into my head right now, so that's the reason why I'm asking the question. Michelle, she started writing a book. It was called Invoke, or it is called Invoke. It is available on her profile page, but you decided to step away from that. Can you talk about the difficulties with that, or maybe not necessarily difficulties, that's the wrong word, but the, I guess the process of letting go of that and then moving on to Temperance Augustine's story?
Well, I did complete Invoke. Mm-hmm. When I was, you and I were talking, I had written a book a long time ago that I stepped away from, and it's still sitting in my PC. I'm like chapter 25. I kind of closed the door on it. It wasn't really, I wasn't feeling it. You got to get that feeling where like, this is it, this is my shining star. I wasn't. It was good practice for me though. Pertaining to Invoke, I had a blast with that story. In fact, I did leave the last chapter hanging to where I could revisit and have another story from the supporting characters in that storyline. So. But Invoke's my baby. I really enjoyed writing that one. It was written. I wrote that probably. It didn't take me too long to write that one. I had a great time writing it though. Voodoo, magic, ghosts. It was great. I loved it.
But you found a way to make it work in your favor, to where you were talking about like you had a side story that kind of wove around that.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes. So sometimes it's just, thinking outside of the box with those new shiny ideas, or even the older ones that you kind of have either, we did an episode all about the hump and the slump, and sometimes to get out of your slump, you have to let go of things in order to get up the hill. So absolutely, 110%. Thank you so much, panel. I do want to get to a portion of the broadcast. It is called Pass the Salt. It is honesty in 140 characters or less. And we are going to start with Miss Brittany Charmatine.
Okay. Mine is very short. It says, have a plan, but be flexible.
I like it. Is there something that I guess with these past assault things? Sometimes you guys say things that are so I don't want to say abbreviated, but there's a purpose for the reason why they're so short. It's because those words mean so much. And is that kind of like something that you gained out of experience, Brittany?
Yes, it is. The reason I thought of saying it was that someone posted a comment on the Corner Booths page about asking the panelists whether we plan our novels ahead of time or whether we pants it. And people, different panelists wrote down their methodologies that work for them, and they were all different and they're all valid. But this is one that works for me, and so I thought not everyone has checked out our page, although they should, on Wattpad.
No pressure, anybody.
No pressure, but if you haven't checked, there are wonderful things to be had that Lindsay has put onto the page, and questions people have asked. But this one, for me, I have learned the hard way. I learned, I know I've mentioned this before, by writing, like 100,000 words and throwing them away and starting over, that for me, I need a plan. But you don't want to be so rigid that you won't change anything, because, miracles happen when you're writing, and you have to be prepared for them when they happen. So all of that is what I'm trying to say in those 6 words.
I love that.
The last thing that you said too, as well, just like miracles happen while writing. Be prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really amazing. Because I think that's yeah. I already got mine for next week. Check it out, Miss Jennifer Corman.
I had to think about this because I'm new, but the first thing that came to mind when I was thinking about what this really meant was don't throw shade and be content to be who you are when you're writing. When I very first came on Wattpad, somebody who I didn't know who was very young said something awful. And when you first are writing, it's really hard when somebody does that. And my first instinct was to say something awful back, but that's not the right thing to do.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Exactly. And what I realized is that that person was very young and going through a really difficult time, and people don't realize that there's a person on the other end of that thing that they've written. And in any direction, whether you're reading something and commenting or whether you're writing, Wattpad is just a positive place. And of course, there's room for giving somebody constructive criticism, but I think it just needs to stay a positive place. And it's also, even in that, if you do get something negative, you have to have the strength to just stay what kind of writer you are, because there are going to be people who don't like what you're writing. There are going to be people who say it's not literary enough, or it's not this enough, or it's not that enough, and that's okay, because not everybody's going to like what you're doing. So experiment and just keep going.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Jennifer, this is your first episode? I wouldn't even know. Like, you're doing this like a pro. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. That's a surprise.
Miss Michelle Hayes.
Okay. All right. Good thoughts, ladies. I like all of yours. Okay, so I've decided I did stay within the character limit this time.
Woo! Victory!
Although I have, okay, all right. So what
although, like you're trying to slip something in.
I did the last couple of episodes actually, because I think, what did I write, like a novel one time?
Awesome.
Okay, I wrote, being rejected from a literary agent does not mean your dream is dead. It means someone else will see your potential.
Seriously, people.
Yes, do not give up. Trust me, I've been rejected so many times. I will not give up. I'm like Eminem. Failure is not an option.
That's right, people. Michelle is a thug. I don't know if you knew that. I mean, she wears a hoodie and she talks about mom's spaghetti and her palms are sweaty and like.
Failure is not an option. That's it.
Miss Sarah Benson.
That was awesome, Michelle. I second that. Don't let other people define your dreams like that. No way.
That's
okay,
right.
So mine's related to something that has happened, I think, to everyone probably on Wattpad, and it's you get those messages on your board or your PMs, and it's just basically someone who shows up out of the blue. You have no clue who they are, and they just ask for stuff. Follow me. Tell your people about me. Read my stuff. Whatever. It's kind of, I mean, I understand it that there's a lot of immaturity on the site or people who just don't know the protocol. I get that, but I just would like to see people first, looking outward. So here's mine. I am borrowing from Kennedy's inaugural address. Ask not what your fellow Wattpadder can do for you. Ask what you can do for your fellow Wattpadder. There we go.
That is amazing! I love it. That is so awesome.
I love it.
Sarah Benson for president. Yes, absolutely. That is great. I think. Wow. Okay. Yeah. That took a different turn than I thought it was going to. But the way that I see it, as far as people that do those messages and that kind of, I don't want to say pester, but it's kind of like they're misguided. They think that this is actually going to get them good readers. And they might get someone, on the line that actually, will read maybe half of chapter 1 or maybe vote for a chapter here or there, but it's not really an effective way of getting a strong readership. The way that I see it, it's kind of like when you go out to the parking lot to your car after work and there's a bunch of like leaflets on your windshield. I just take those leaflets and I use them as napkins or something. I mean, it's nothing that I'm going to actually legitimately look at. So I mean, kind of have that in your ultimate decorum of the fact that when you do that, if you're a Wattpadder who does that, people look at it that way, or they look at you like a door-to-door salesman. It's kind of like you don't really care about who I am as a person, or that I have a story myself, or anything like that. You're kind of looking out for number one, and Wattpad is not for those kind of people. So please, please, please make sure that you are putting the social in social network. Which brings us to the end of the broadcast. Wow, that was a really fast hour, people. We have about 7 minutes left. I do want to get to this thing called Check Please, and we have a little bit of, or a lot of information to cover in this 7 minutes. The first thing is that I want to let everybody know, or remind everybody again, that we are really giving away Wattpad mugs. There's been a couple people who have won by default, because they have been the only people that have entered. So I think it was not this past broadcast, but the broadcast before that. Layla Adams was the only one who actually did what I asked that person or that week to do. So if you're watching these broadcasts and you want a Wattpad mug, enter, because your odds are incredibly good right now. So like I said, I kind of went over all that information at the top of the broadcast, but just tell us about your Wattpad bestie on our forum, or on our thread in the cafe forum, and by midnight Wednesday, May 20th. And the last thing that I want to talk about is the fact that we are doing our very own Corner Booth writing contest. We're putting it together. It will be every 10 episodes. We will have 4 panelists that will read your first 2 chapters. And we'll have all of the information and more about it and how it works, because there's going to be a little bit of a different spin on it. And like I said, the information's coming. Check out our Wattpad profile page. Lindsay's been really awesome about getting information, a lot better than I am. So all the details will be there. It's going to be a very different entry kind of program, or at least like format, not program, but format. So it's going to be different in that sense, and I hope that everybody kind of gets behind it and sees exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it that way. But the first guest judge for our first contest ever, which will happen after episode 10, like I said, will be Samantha Pennington, who goes as at Samantha, and she's in charge of Wattpad fan fiction. So thank you so much, Samantha, for hopping aboard the Corner Booths project and making it even bigger and greater than it already has been. And that's just because of our viewership. That's because of the people who comment on our thread, the people who leave us messages on our profile. You all have been so wonderful, and thank you so much for giving us, encouragement and making us laugh at a lot of the times, because sometimes y'all will just say the most off-the-wall stuff, and it's just like, how did you people even get there? So yeah, thank you so much for doing that. But yes, check out at Samantha, because hopefully we will have her on a broadcast soon. I do want to let everybody know that coming up in August, we are going to be joining with Wattpad headquarters on a big project, and I will let everybody in on a hint. It has to do with the Waddies 2015. So it's going to be very exciting. Look forward to that. We're going to be working very hard during the next 2 months of getting this together. But you're going to be seeing some really amazing people on the panel. Not that our panel's not amazing already, but we're going to even explode even further. So thank you, Wattpad headquarters, Amanda Lai, Todd Boxer. You guys have been phenomenal. So thank you so much for supporting us constantly. The last thing that I want to talk about is the Just Write It program, which is #JustWriteIt. It's a challenge to write 10,000 words in 30 days. And essentially what they're doing this month is all about leading ladies. So join the Wattpad 4, which is Rebecca Skye, who was on last week. Woo! And then we have Leah Crichton, Monica Sands, and Aaron Latimer. Sorry, Aaron, I didn't forget you. But they get together every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Twitter using the hashtag Wattpad4. They are an incredible group of ladies, and if you are looking for a little bit of an outlet, if you're frustrated with your writing or you just need a little bit of guidance, go check them out, because they will give you all the encouragement and guidance that you could possibly ask for. But thank you again for tuning in to the Corner Booth. We have so much fun every single week. Next week, we are going to be doing an episode 10. Wow, I can't believe we got to 10 episodes, guys. Congratulations. But it is called The Broken Record, and it is all about shameless self-promotion. So we are going to dig into that. I think everybody kind of rolled their eyes because they're just like, I've heard of that before. So everybody has one of those Wattpadders in mind when they think of shameless self-promotion. Not that we're going to do any name dropping or anything, right, guys? So join us next week, same time, same great channel. Panel, if you would please say goodnight.
Good night.
Good night.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Good night.